And that's something we push at RKON. So we are really cloud focused. The more we can push a compliance burden onto one of the major clouds, Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, the better. If they can manage the operating systems, then we don't have to manage them. They're responsible for the controls, and it's just easier for our clients to actually get through authorizations or certifications. Speaking of that, when they start going through the process, I'm sure there's 110 controls in the 171. Out of those, what are some of the worrisome ones, like cryptography, that clients have to focus on?
Yeah, I mean, FIPS-validated cryptography is the 31311 requirement is by far the toughest and just most involved part of every assessment. It feels like every organization, no matter how mature or how size, just maturity, capability, things like that. Everybody seems to just have difficulty with this one because the FIPS-validated component, the FIPS-validated module. I think a lot of people, they look at FIPS, they look at cryptography, they say, hey, I'm using AES 256 or I have TLS or I have some sort of algorithm in place. And what that FIPS validated module aspect asks for is actually the mechanism, the hardware, the software, the firmware that's implementing that cryptography, that module that's actually doing that cryptography is FIPS validated within that NIST Cryptographic Module Validation Program website. So going onto that site and making sure that is an active CMVP and it's implemented in the congruent way.
So you have to actually go get a CMVP number and proves the algorithms that you're using are approved.
Yep, and the mechanism itself is it's using an active CMVP because I think a lot of times we see people with these historical or some set CMVPs and it's not FIPS validated.
It's an issue we've seen before where they bring in a database that's running a algorithm for encryption that's not authorized, and at that point, what's their option? Can they continue to use that database with an exception, or are they going to have to change to something that's authorized, FIPS validated? What would, from your point of view, is there a way to get something that's not FIPS validated through, or is that pretty much a showstopper?
It's a little nuanced because there are some situations. There's a couple categories. CMMCs it's difficult because there's not as much. It's not like a risk-based decision. Like I think FedRAMP can get away with that a little bit. There's a little bit more leniency in this because CMMC is a bit more arbitrary. We have found that sometimes you see with like the Apple and maybe some of the OSs that are implementing security when they're outpacing the CMVP program because it can be delayed and you can see some of these OS versions really outpacing its actual certificate so it doesn't match up one for one with what encryption they're using. Sometimes that we see that caveat with kind of maybe like a temporary deficiency or something like that where it's using a validated module, but that module doesn't match the OS because it's been outpaced by just kind of the pace of change for technology. So in that case, that could be considered met, but it is a difficult path if the module actually is historical. So you really want to make sure your ducks are aligned because there's just not a lot of avenues for contextualizing sort of the security that you're